everybody says, why didn't I do more? I mean, you just can't. No human being is stronger than the desire to get that medicine, that feeling good, even for a brief time.
Welcome to the Soul Not Skin podcast. It's a virtual living room to land where we pull up a chair and share stories straight from the heart. I'm your host, Jen Slumack, or as my students like to call me, Miss Jen. We talk about the real human experience, the hard stuff, the wonderful stuff, and the messy everyday growth that shapes who we become. Real stories, real people, real insight, becoming who we are. Settle in and let's dive into today's episode.
Hello, my name is Joe, and I want to talk a little bit about my experiences with addiction and kind of the impact that's had on my life, but really throughout my life. Recently, I lost a friend who struggled with alcoholism and addiction for quite some time, really close friend. And that kind of shook me to my core and had me really doing some reflecting and some thinking about, where things were and my life and just kind of evaluating everything. And towards the end, we got real close and he kind of reached out and kind of essentially told me he needed me there. Having a background of being around addicts and alcoholism for essentially my whole life, I kind of knew that I could only be there so much, and that if he wasn't ready to change and to take those steps, it wasn't going to happen. Nevertheless, that doesn't lessen the impact it has on you. You always want to do more. You think you should have done more and whatnot. So long story short, he was a good friend of mine I knew from the gym years ago, and we kind of lost contact for a while. He had gone through some hard times, and life was lifing, and we were kind of doing our own things. And past couple years, we kind of reconnected in a strong way, and we're talking all the time, and actively through the addiction and through the struggles. And we would hang out, once a month and kind of just connect and talk about life. And this was throughout the ups and downs of addiction and alcoholism as we know it. I mean, it's never a steady line, right? It's always ups and downs. And it was tough, right? Because you love and you care about someone who's actively struggling, and in their heart and in their brain, they know what needs to happen and what they want to happen. And we're talking about, good people with good hearts and huge hearts. And it's a trait I notice in most addicts and alcoholics. The hearts are always there, and they're always these kind people to everyone but themselves, essentially. But it's really a tug of war type of game where you have these conversations and everything sounds great and everything sounds like we're on the right track and we're going in the right direction, and then until it's not, and then it's just a disappearing act. And we used to have this kind of running joke where I'd say, hey, don't Houdini me this time, don't disappear on me. Because I know I've seen this too many times where we're on a good track, we're talking every day, and all of a sudden I don't hear from you for a few days, and then a week, and then 2 weeks. And it's like, the texts are still flying and one way, they're not coming back. And I know exactly where that's going. Like we're caught in that addiction, in that trap again. And so it's hard. It's very hard. And my take on it was always, I'll show up for you right now. If you need me to come there now and be with you so you're safe. I know from experience that I can't take away the addiction. I can't make you take away the addiction, but I can be there to make sure you're safe physically, medically, and get your help if you need it. So that part is tough, knowing that you're powerless from the outside looking in. Now my take was always, I'm going to make sure you know that I love you and I believe in you. And personally, I feel like with what I've seen with addicts, that's what's missing, right? Is the self-esteem and the love and that's something we didn't have growing up, and something that you just need to hear. Someone believes me, someone loves me, and someone knows I can make it out of this healthy and alive. Unfortunately, with my friend recently, it didn't end that way. Didn't have that quote happy ending. I mean, leading up to it, it was within a month before his passing. I had just come back from a long hike. Was away for most of the weekend. This was a Monday. It happened to be a holiday, and so having a 1-year-old at the time, baby, and my wife was with them all weekend. I mean, it's tough times. It's not easy to take care of the baby. So, babe, Eric needs me today. We're gonna go hang out, and I'm gonna spend the day with them. It's just gonna be a quick workout and coffee, and I'll be back. And so that day, bless that day. The day just turned out to be an amazing day. We ended up spending I was probably gone for 4.5 hours. And I felt horrible for my wife. And I'm like, she's not gonna be happy when I get home. And and I've been away and yada, yada. But it was just, the moment was just right. And we got to hang out. We reminisced about old times and talked about a lot of things and the direction and addiction and what that does and how we get into these mind states and all the things, and how we know what is right and wrong and what we should and shouldn't be doing and what is good for us and not good for us. But we're powerless, when it comes to that. And it just grabs a hold of us. I mean, we talked about just the addictive all or nothing personality when it comes to many things, whether it's fitness or dating and women and anything at any given point in our lives, and just how that it just grabs us and takes a hold of us, and we're essentially powerless. So I mean, we had a magical day and it was great, and yeah, I did get a little bit of flack when I got home, but just something about it felt like it was right and it was worth it, and it needed to happen. Shortly after that, within a couple of days, the text stopped coming back, and that put a sinking feeling in my stomach because I knew something was wrong. I knew that we were probably on a bad run, and so again, my approach was just, I want to tell you I love you. I want to tell you I believe in you. I want to tell you I'm here if you need me to come where you're at and kind of help you through this time. And then I got the news from a mutual friend. Maybe 3 weeks after that day we spent together, that he had passed. And this is after not hearing anything for probably 2 weeks. And the immediate feeling was, if I'm being completely honest, is kind of, woe is me, right? And why didn't I do enough? And a lot of I statements, which knowing what I know and the experiences I've had, it's never an I thing. You do what you can and you show love, but you cannot take this away from someone who's got an active addiction. They're going to do what it takes to achieve that fix or to achieve that quote goal. So after that, it was just a feeling of just cherishing the moments, and cherishing the moments and the impact that he had on my life, and that friendship and that love that was there. Kind of takes me back, like I mean, I've seen addiction throughout my life, from essentially from birth, and from uncles and the disappointment that brings, and I've watched and witnessed exactly what that has done to my mom, with her brothers and my father and whatnot, and it's really just devastating. It's hard when a person who loves an addict and who cares about an addict, or an alcoholic for that matter, doesn't have the escape, right? It's like you have to deal with those raw emotions, and you don't actively have that escape, which is the substance. Knowing that, it's really impacted my life. I've been associated with and known and hung out with and close friends with many addicts and alcoholics. And I always wondered, you always kind of wonder, why is that? Is it my calling to help people? Or, well, after you see enough of these situations, no, I mean, we're not any different. We're the same people. I'm wired the same way. Is it dumb luck? Is it just a small bit of circumstances that kept me away from fully going off of the deep end into that addiction? Most likely. a couple stories that I have with friends, and like I said, I mean, some of my closest friends are now recovered or recovering addicts, and that's my circle, and like I said, by the grace of God, I've somehow stayed away from going fully immersed into that life or that circle. I'd get a call at 3 a.m. Because there's demons blocking the microwave and somebody can't get their food out of the microwave that I knew they weren't going to eat because they're in the middle of addiction and drugs and everything else. But so this story, and we still talk about it to this day. A really good friend of mine, and I showed up at 3 a.m, fresh out of bed, and I'm like, okay, I'll be there. He's still at the office, probably not getting any work done. And so I showed up and I helped him rescue his food from the demons that were blocking the microwave. And we sat there and we broke pipes and we flushed drugs and we got rid of everything that he had. And at the time, I thought, great, cool. This starts him on a road to recovery. I mean, looking back, and he's admitted it to me and talked to me about it. And again, now he's recovered for several years. Praise God for that. But all I did was just go and get more. I just had to hop in the car and just go get more drugs and get a new pipe. That's what that amounted to. But I appreciate it, and it was a good moment. So yeah, I mean, it's those type of things. And like I said, it's one of my better friends to this day. One of my best friends struggled with addiction for years and years, and alcoholism. And, he tells me to this day that you're probably my best friend. And it's only because of the love you've always showed me, the acceptance and the understanding of it. And that means a lot. It's easy to look down, he's just an addict. He's just a junkie. He's just a dope fiend or whatever word they use. But it's so much deeper than that, and it's so much, in my experience at least, every addict or alcoholic that I've seen, and even I'll include myself in that as far as borderline or having had issues in the past with alcohol and other things and partying too much. It's something that starts like really early on, where every one of these people has experienced some kind of lack of self-esteem or self-worth or experienced abuse at a young age. And it's always something that that not believing in yourself or not thinking you're good enough or just thinking that everyone's better, everyone deserves more, you don't deserve it. And those always seem to be the type of things that I've seen lead to addiction or these type of things, just taking over.
Like trauma is something that I think we don't fully understand either. Trauma isn't something that happens, it's something. It's the way that a person receives the experience that makes the impact. And I mean, that can be certainly seeing somebody shot in front of you, certainly being off at war and, having these horrific experiences, whether on the battlefield or in a community that is, got a high crime rate, those things for sure. But it's also traumatic for a little person to need security and not feel that they're getting it.
Mm-hmm.
To need attention and soothing and not feel like they're getting it.
100%.
And I think that feeds into your conversation, your point about the self-esteem, right? If life hurts more than I'm able to deal with it, then I need to find relief to survive.
Yes, absolutely.
And the mechanism in the brain and the body will take some people into crossing an invisible line to addiction when their medicine becomes their monster.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, with the guy I was just talking about, my close friend, and we had many conversations, and and he would talk to me most of the time, not during a bout with alcoholism. Is the latest, is what he had gone through. He's recovering now, and like I said, praise God. But and he hated it. You you just hate the alcohol. And when he's coming out of it and on a good run, sober, I hate it. I don't even like it. It's miserable. I can't stand it. But it becomes just that medicine and that only escape that you have from the reality and the trauma. And the trauma thing, I look at trauma and everybody has or a ceiling, either way you want to put it. So I feel like I've seen quite a bit of things, and I've been shot at, and I've seen crazy things happen. So my ceiling gets to a certain point. My wife has had a different experience, and she hasn't seen a lot of the things I've seen, or been around kind of the addicts, or had uncles showing up at the house with police chasing them and jumping out, and just craziness. Trauma is all about the feel. So my ceiling and her ceiling feel the same. Even if my ceiling's way up here and her ceiling's down here, it's what you feel and how it affects you. And obviously how you cope with that and your defense mechanisms towards that.
Tell me a little bit about your friend who overdosed. What did he leave anybody behind? Did he have a partner or kids, or his parents still alive, or siblings? Like, what kind of an impact is his absence having?
Yeah, I mean, he had siblings, and he was extremely close with his mom. He lived with his mom still, and yeah, it's tremendous impact. He had nieces and nephews that he was extremely close to, and I don't get into too many details, but the addiction and the circumstances affected them in ways too, and they saw things that similar to what I experienced growing up. So I kind of understand where they're coming from with it. Is you love someone and you see these things, and especially as a child, you don't understand that, like, why it's not good. Just stop. Just don't do it. Right? I mean, it's touch a hot stove. It's hot. It burnt me. I just don't do it. Yeah, I've seen a tremendous impact, on the community, on friends, and as someone who's loved by many, many, many people, just for the heart that he had, and the just the giving spirit, and just the all around good person. But you see the devastation on his mom's face and her heart, and siblings, and like I said, the nieces and nephews, and you just see the aftermath of it, and it's like, everybody says, why didn't I do more? Why wasn't I there more? Why didn't I show up more? Why couldn't I do something different? The reality of it is, I mean, you just can't. You can't. Like I said, there's no force, well, except for, I'll say, God. No human being is stronger than the force and the desire of an addict to get that fix, that medicine, that being enough, or just feeling good, even for a brief amount of time. Even knowing that it's going to come with some level, probably a high level of negative feelings, or come down, or pain. It just at that moment becomes worth it to feel the positivity just for a brief time. The aftermath of it, I mean, it left a huge void in my heart. I know that. And like I said, someone I was close to and growing close to, and this is a kind of a macho, prideful, workout, buff guy that, in his own way, in the last 6 months to a year, I don't remember how long, it's probably a year before passing, really told me, I need you around. I need you in my life right now. Every couple weeks, we'd get together or have coffee, or once a month at the longest, and talk, almost daily. And so it's tough, right? Because you feel like you wanted to have more of an impact. And I think you do have an impact on this person's life. It's just, and this is really kind of the first one around my age that we've lost this addiction. I've seen, like I said, I mean, the story I told about the guy at work, I've had this fear of losing many others close to me around my age. It's kind of different. I've lost uncles and whatnot, and they're a little bit older, and it's a different dynamic. But when it's your age, your group, your peers, people that you've really been close to and actively and recently, it just hits different. It's you wish you could have done more. You wish you could have taken that away. You wish a lot of things. It's brought on some reflection for me, and it's like we always think, it can't happen to me. And the reality of it is, I think there's a lot of us, I won't say all because everybody's wired differently, but there's a lot of us, myself included, that we're not far off from going down those same roads, or maybe not actively, but at some point in our life, we haven't been far off, and like you see a homeless person on the street and you say, hey, we're only a missed paycheck or two away from, being there ourselves. It's not that far off. The same thing in my experience, in my opinion, is true with addiction, right? We're only a slight set of circumstances, a few negative experiences, just we're not far off, and so when we say it can't happen to me, it can absolutely happen to you. Trauma, where one traumatic event can send many of us into that same lifestyle. And experiencing this recent event, along with the others, and seeing, relapse after relapse with some of my close friends, and wondering, why can't we just, put this to bed for good? I've learned that I need to really focus on cherish every moment, really stay conscious about, health and really taking care of ourselves and nurturing our bodies. And I think one thing that I'll say is with addicts, in my experience, is when they are actively clean, they're really good at something. They all have this skill set, and they're able to lock in like in a way that most people aren't, and they really excel at whatever it is that they lock into. I mean, for me, it's like, okay, I do have those same traits and the same personality, and that's probably why I'm surrounded by so many addicts and recovering addicts, because that's the circle. We're wired kind of the same. Like I said, for me, it's always going to be something, right? Whatever I dive into, it's going to be in an addictive type of way. Like I'm going to dive all the way in. It's just what it is. Just, man, anyone who's struggling and going through this right now, it's like, whether I know you or not, like I believe in you, you're loved. I guarantee that, whether you realize it or know it or not, and you're definitely enough, and you're definitely enough whether you realize it or not. I mean, that's all I can say. There's help and there's support out there. To anybody who like loves an addict, don't give up on them. Like obviously we can't support the behavior per se, but there's a lot of us who have dealt with this, been through this. In my opinion, it's important that they know that you love them and you believe in them. And, one of the best, I guess, motivators or medicine to me is love. And that's been my experience and my take, is that's kind of what's missing and what's needed. Sometimes that'll be enough to spark a change or a decision by the individual to make that change, from what I've seen. If you lost someone to overdose or addiction, there's people you can talk to, and you're certainly not alone. I mean, this is just way too big of a problem. So there's help out there, and don't be afraid to use those resources.
If this conversation sparked something for you, or if you want to dive deeper, head over to jenslumac.com, where you can join our community waitlist, enjoy our evolving space, or grab a copy of the book that started it all, Soul Not Skin. I hope you'll pull up a chair next time to hang out with us again. We're figuring out this world and ourselves at the exact same time, growing as we listen to the stories of others. Let's keep getting to know each other. I mean, after all, we are in this together. See you next time.